What's going on, man? It's your boy Banga Etuk, aka Banga the Menace, aka Nigerian Hot Boy. Today we are finally back with another one. See, initially I wrote 3 different Teacup with Etuk episodes on 3 different themes, but I placed them on hold because something spoke to me a bit more in depth. So I'll have topics already written and completed for y'all. But I wanted to get the one that I actually was the most passionate about out of the way. Hold on though. So this week, my topic is fake it till you make it. See, it's not as bad as it sounds when you say fake it till you make it. What do you think of when I say fake it till you make it? I don't mean trying to fit into somewhere you do not fit, trying to be someone you are not. I mean along the lines of relationships or friendships. You can't always speak what's on your mind. Sometimes you may have to hold your tongue if you plan on, longevity. So initially, this specifically topic that I'm referring to is what friendships and relationships deal with along the lines of treatment from the outside world and how they come home and handle it. Does that make sense? Fake it till you make it. So initially, I wrote an episode solely on family, friends, and the lack of support when it comes to business, etc. I've recently had something more heavy on my spirit that I'd like to discuss with you all. Why do Black individuals, both male and female, fake smiles with their white counterparts throughout the day just to go home to your family and treat them like shit? Instead of decompressing with your family, asking how their day was, both of y'all giving each other that opportunity to vent, to decompress, to become comfortable in your home, because that's the end goal essentially. Because 9 times out of 10, you have to get ready for work all over again tomorrow. If you work 5 days a week, you gotta fake a smile 5 days a week. Instead of decompressing with them, why do y'all decompress on top of them? Where did the smiles and the jokes go? You were at work in such a good mood, you're cracking jokes, good morning, you're buying your white counterparts breakfast, lunch, you're doing all these different things to treat these people, but you don't even treat your family at home this way. See, I won't say Stockholm Syndrome to the completion, but it is a form of, because how have you managed to treat these individuals so well when you already know they're not the most fond of you? They don't see you as, the most high. 9 times out of 10, a lot of them are using you. They see you dumb enough to bring them breakfast. They see you dumb enough to do these different things for validation. They're going to allow you to keep doing it because the validation you seek will not stop anything that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? You can be a bootlicker, you can be an ass kisser. That's not going to stop their money, and it's not going to ruin their relationship at home. You're only ruining yours. You know what I'm saying? Why must I, or anyone else, dealing with this, why must I or we be the ones to experience your moments of turmoil? Give me the 110% that you give to those outside of our home. We as Black people are extremely versatile as is, but working alongside, whites, or somewhere predominantly white, it requires you to be a bit more of a chameleon. In my opinion, our parents and our grandparents struggle with this on a much higher accord than we would now in 2022. We deal with it significantly, but just imagine the measures that our ancestors and, mine and yours had to go through just to get through the day, whether they were drinking immensely, doing drugs, crime, everyone has their own, style of decompression. Some are addicted to crime, some smoke a lot, Some pop pills, some do the heavier drugs, some have sex to decompress because that's how they relieve stress. So essentially, any of those things can become a habit. You're not bound to have 5 good days a week, every work week. I'm not wishing bad work days upon anybody, but let's be realistic. At least one of those days out of the week will not go as you plan it to. And if you're already having a day to where you're kind of on the edge or on the, you got this much left in you before you snap. You don't just have a shitty day, come home, decompress all the way to 0, and then go back to work and you're able to start again from 0. 9 times out of 10, you still have maybe 5 to 10% of that feeling from the day before, because it takes more than 24 hours to regenerate a single day of emotion. A lot of the work is done while you're sleeping, actually. Your body regenerates and restores most of the things that you think of and do and constantly repeat in your mind. That happens more while you're sleeping than you're awake. So the few hours that you have in the day that you are awake, dealing with these certain things, it builds up. Essentially, some people can go to those things they like to do and decompress. Some are going to snap. Not everybody loves or even enjoys or even cares to deal with things they are not paid to do at work. No one wants to come to work and be stressed the hell out. No one wants to come to work, so I think, just to kiss someone's ass or go the extra miles just so they can keep their, their form of income. I don't think anybody purposely wants to have to do that every day, because an easy work day is what anybody would dream of. I don't dream of working. Let me correct that. I don't dream of working at all. It's just something that just so happened to have to be done. But I don't dream of manual labor. That's not what a dream is. Okay? So now that I'm older and I saw how my parents would come home, not necessarily in a bad mood, but you can feel the energy most times about them having a bad day, because something, although it's serious, it's really not. When you forget to take the meat out the freezer for a parent, when they ask you to do something before they get home and it's not done when they get there. As a child, it doesn't seem as serious to you because you're a child. The emotion that your parent may be experiencing, you know nothing of. And so they may come home and take it out on you. They may come home and become a little bit upset or angry with you because they're no longer having to fake that smile. They're not on the clock anymore, So when they actually get pissed or infuriated, excuse the poor grammar, they can then now display that on you instead of having to bite their tongue and grit their teeth. Does that make sense? Specifically more so with my dad than my mom, because women typically have more tolerable employment. Let me not be stereotypical, because there are some women working in places they do not want to be. But most men who have a family and or children and or wife and or both, you can't just, I don't want to work there, so I'm not going to, because you have mouths at home, So what you gonna do? You can't be so stubborn when you have a family to feed. Unless you got unless you got the method. But as I was saying, I see my dad dealing with this more often than my mother, because my dad is constantly working these, 14, 15-hour days, 9 times out of 10, either working with many people of other race, whether it be Hispanics, because my dad's predominantly construction and alongside architecture. So those jobs typically take you to less populated cities that are not as, that are not as established with variety when it comes to race. It's mostly predominantly either Hispanic or predominantly white. There is only 1% of African-American, predominant African-American construction businesses in the state of Texas. 1%. So that doesn't even count for possibly 50 to 60 businesses. It's probably less than that. So just imagine dealing with that day on, day off. Saturday and Sunday is not enough time to really pretend like you've gotten over it, because you're going to be stressing about bills. You're going to be trying to, take care of these things at home and trying to get ready for work that Monday. It's so many different things that you are doing that you should not be doing, and other things that you could be doing, but you don't have the time to do because you're faking it till you make it, My dad would have his days where he would just come straight home, go in the room, take his shower and go to sleep. And I used to always be like, you're not that tired. Like, why you not entertaining us? Like, he always made sure to speak, he never just, blew us off or nothing. But I used to take it personal as a child because I didn't think of you working 14, 15 hours in the sun. I didn't think of you, possibly having a shitty day. It's not always about being physically tired. The mind can also need a rest as well. And my dad being, the crazy Nigerian guy that he is, just overall adapting to the American market has not been the easiest for him, but he's overcome that shit, and I'm proud of him because he has one of the best jobs you could ever have at the moment. Still the same exact scenarios where he's working a lot, only having a few hours to himself at the end of the workday, but we are more aware of these emotions and these things that we have to deal with, these barriers. So I won't say it's now easier to deal with, but it's now easier to pinpoint, and it's up to him and my mother. Because essentially, now that I'm out of the house, y'all got to deal with each other's shit. I don't have to deal with y'all shit no more when it comes to bad days, as I now have my own bad days that I could bring home, to my partner, to my children. And we don't want that. I don't want that. It's a rippling effect. You essentially seeing that as a child, and you're coming, into your adolescence, your teenage years, and then your adulthood. You start to, develop those same traits. Let me just bottle all this in until Friday because I'm off Saturday. I just get real drunk Saturday and, decompress Sunday. But that's not healthy. How many days or how many weekends will that actually take to work? And when it does, how long will it last, A lot of people can stomach emotion for a lot of time, but for one, harboring on emotion makes you mentally and physically sick. You have to learn to not only let go, but to genuinely, release it from your hands. You can sit up and think about it. You can sit up and stress about where you went wrong, what you could have did, how you should have did it, when you should have did it, and where. Or you can accept what the hell just happened, move forward, and hope for something new, hope for something better. Not just hope, but actually doing, because you can't just hope for something and sit back on your ass and expect, for things to accommodate themselves. You have to put in the work. And the mental aspect of putting in the work is a bit more difficult than the physical. Anybody can get up, bake until they make it at a job, come home and, boo-hoo. But you mentally dealing with this shit, stomaching this shit, processing this shit, and then pushing it out the way because you genuinely got over that shit, not everybody can consider that a skill that they have. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been hitting me lately because now that I'm working 60, 65, some weeks even 70 hours, I don't have time to really do much of anything. I literally had become less focused on my children, my 2 dogs. I don't have children, but they are my children. I didn't have as much time to care for them as I normally would because if I'm not at work, I'm with my kids. 100%. You know, my relationship had begun to slowly find the turmoil and kind of marinate in it because I had no time to come home and be a partner. I would come home at about 8 p.m., 8:45-ish, having to be back up at 5 a.m. I only had time to get ready for the next day. You know, maybe take a shot, maybe roll up, you know. But as I was just saying, that's not actual decompression. You are kickbacking and relaxing, but you're not decompressing, okay? Because I can take this shot, I could roll that up, I'm still gonna be thinking about the shit that just transpired. I'm not gonna give a damn about it, but it's still gonna be on my mind. But if I actually dig deep, get to the bottom of that shit, what's for dinner? You know, let me get these clothes set aside. Let me wash these clothes, or let me make myself productive. Or, you know, there's so many different things that you could really put yourself in the position to do so you're not fucked up mentally. You know, excuse my profane language. I have been trying to excuse a little bit of it, but some things just hit a little bit harder when you drop that bomb. Where was I? As I was saying, I feel like our parents and grandparents struggle with this on a much higher accord than we do in 2022. Because there are so many people in 2022 with coping mechanisms. This is not something you could do in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. You could barely say the 90s. The things we have to do today, the escapes that we have, the social media, all the different things we could run away to and not exist physically, they did not have back in the day. So you gotta know, crime was bad, the use of drugs was bad, the infidelity, the domestic violence, like a lot of things had skyrocketed because you have to actually sit at home and deal with the shit that you've been running away from. And you see how that happened, and you see what came from it during COVID, during our quarantine. So many people had to sit in the house with not working at all. With their mental, drove them crazy. You know, partners were breaking up faster than they ever have. Domestic violence, a lot of things had really skyrocketed. Certain drugs had became more popular because people was just trying to escape. You couldn't just do that shit 20, 30 years ago. You had to man the fuck up or you was gonna be in jail. As I was saying, that behavior is still notated by children and reciprocated without even noticing. You come home with such negative and demeaning energy towards the people you say you love, but you allowed yourself to be walked over all damn day long. We lack empathy with each other, and it has been that way for so long. You become complacent with the way you treat your family. Complacent with the way you treat your family. When I say that, I mean you don't even notice how shitty you treat them. All the people that I work with, you know, as I mentioned, my work hours are not the most stable. A lot of them enjoy those hours because they say that's less time they have to spend with their families. A lot of people work these jobs on purpose to avoid having to come home at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. every day. They want to get home when everybody has been taken care of and is laying down for the night. That's not my style. However, some people do what's easiest for the mental and for the physical. Essentially, that becomes a generalized emotion. You find yourself going into environments and territories that you normally are not welcomed in because that pushback that you experience has become routine for you. Stockholm Syndrome, as I mentioned, isn't always a physical abuse, but it can become a mental as well. The overall and generalized emotion for Black people becomes your permanent experience with them, and you will attract what you put into the atmosphere. No matter how opposing some thoughts and ways are towards your own people, know that someone somewhere on this earth will share those same exact thoughts. Okay? Don't allow the rippling effect of people treating you shitty at work come home to you treating your family shitty, to the point where you become so complacent you don't see them as family anymore. These are just motherfuckers from the street. Because that generalized emotion, you'll start treating strangers that exact same way. Strangers that look like you, you know? Because you're so busy kissing white ass and Hispanic ass at work, you come home to your black family and you looking at them like, I'm not doing this shit a third time. I did this shit all day with 2 different races. You black motherfuckers can kiss my ass. That's typically that emotion that gets built over time because you allowing these different people to dump on you constantly, you know. I've always made it my mission to come home on a better record than I've left that morning. I never make habits out of overextending to people outside of my home because when it's time to generalize, you damn right, I'll still be placed with the niggas, the Negroes, the Negroids, you know, no matter how accommodating I would be to other people and to other races, nothing will still change that generalization and that rhetoric when it's time to do so, when it's time to judge. Okay? Come home, show some love to your partner, take that time to decompress, ask them how their day was, allow them to ask you the same before you just walk off like, how was your day? Oh, okay, cool. No, genuinely invest yourself into the response because you never know. You saying you had a good day could make your woman feel extremely good because, you haven't had a good day since 2-3 weeks ago. So that can make her feel good and, you know, it could make her or it could influence her to, you know, want to have a sexy night or to do something she has not done in a while. Like, it's truly a mental thing. Vice versa. You could also be happy and intrigued by the day that your woman has, you know, happy wife, happy life. Some people live that motto regardless of what it surrounds. So her being happy could genuinely make you happy. And that could make you want to do some shit you haven't did in 45 years, you know? Am I making sense? Have I lost y'all down at the light? Let me know. However long you need to take, just take it. But still remember, you do not live alone and you need to be considerate. I don't want anything I'm saying or discussing to come off with a bad days aren't allowed kind of demeanor because you're more than welcome to have a bad day. As I said, out of 5 days a week, you think none of them are going to be slightly infuriating, possibly compromising, possibly challenging, you know, because they will happen. Maybe even often. Some people have more than one bad day a week. It just takes a small compromise when it comes to ensuring and reassuring with your partner because truly that's all a lot of women want. Assurance, reassurance, reassurance. Energy is transferable, and I'd hate for anyone to become a product of their own environment from constantly just trying to get by, fake it till you make it, or keep the peace. Regardless of how well you can stomach trauma, it is not a normal behavior to do so. It is not normal to not crave peace in your home with familiar faces because if you cannot get it there, where the hell do you expect to find peace? If you cannot receive peace in your own home, your own environment, your own realm, where will you find it? Because I'd love to know. But anyway, man, this is something that was specifically, like, it was just speaking to me louder than the other 3 that I had written. So I appreciate y'all for taking, 30 minutes out of your time to give this a listen, give this a check out because it has been over a month. Working the hours that I'm working with this job, damn near 70 hours a week. There's no time, I won't say there's no time because I found time on the clock to write these, but actually stepping aside to actually record them and, put my plans in action is where I start to kind of struggle and, But as I said, I have 3 more aligned for y'all for the next few weeks. I appreciate y'all for taking the time out the day to listen to this. And I want you to know, faking it till you make it will only, prolong it and break it. You cannot expect someone to want to be adjacent to some shit that's not given, only taken. Let me stop trying to freestyle. All right, man. It's your boy Bonga Etuk. You know what it is. The man with the plan. The menace. The one. The 0 because I'm before 1. I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.